What's up, duelists? Before we get into today's deck, I know you guys are very excited for Diamond Dude. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming since I've said I'm going to make this video. But RBE Moreno Valley is on the 19th. It's coming up. It's in like 10 days or something like that. So make sure you guys are signed up. It's about 3/4 full, a little under 3/4 full. So if you haven't already signed up, now is the time to do it. Shonen Jump Championship, Dark End Dragon to first place. We got custom mats with really sick designs on them. I've leaked it on Twitter. I've leaked it on my Discord. Join there to check it out. And then, of course, the giant Black Rose as well is going to be given away, I believe, at a side event there. So even if you can't make it in time to enter for the main event, there's going to be a giant Black Rose side event as well. There's also PS5, Nintendo Switches, all this stuff. It's going to be such an insane once in a lifetime tournament. You guys don't want to miss this. Like if you were for some reason on the fence about going and you live in the area, full send it, literally full send it, and the vibes are going to be immaculate. There's going to be a taco truck. Oh, you guys already know. And then of course RBET Orlando, it's about half full. I've got confirmation that a lot of really big name players are coming to RBET Orlando. So if you were planning on going to one of these, couldn't make it to Moval, Orlando is definitely the next one coming up in October 7th. And like I said, it's about half full. So once in a lifetime events. Also a Shonen Jump Dark End for this one. Lots of other cool stuff, custom mats, etc., etc. Yeah, you guys get the idea. You guys know what RBET is. You watch the channel. All right, back to the deck, or not back to the deck, but on to the deck. So this is a deck I've been working on for a really, really long time, and I think I finally broke through a sort of glass ceiling that I'd had some issues with in testing. And I think the biggest change that I've made now is I've maximized ways, well, A, maximized ways to open Stratos, B, cut Upstart Goblin, so all my OTKs are true, C, cut Karaz, cut Dark Arm Dragon, cut back on all the cards that could potentially break my opening hands, and then D, played all of the like fastest, most explosive cards and incorporated Miracle Fusion as well to guarantee that even if my OTK is strong or doesn't go through like Gorge or something like that, if they try to come back, they have to blow up their own board to do it because I have absolute zero in play. So that's the biggest changes I've made. The way the deck works is you try to use E-Call, Rhoda, open with Stratos, and then Stratos can search for, obviously, any one of your hero monsters, and it kind of turns into a toolbox at that point. Do you search for Plasma because you have Trade-In? Maybe. Do you search for Malicious because you have Grepher, Rhoda, or Destiny Draw? Maybe. Do you search for Diamond Dude because you have Allure and you just have already the pieces to stack a spell card? Maybe. Do you search for Ocean because you need a Water for Miracle? Maybe. Who knows? You know, it just depends game to game what you search for. It's like a Stratos spam, Stratos abuse deck. And then once Stratos gets banished, which it will get banished thanks to like Dark Simorgh and Phoenix Blade, you can bring it back with DDR, return, and net even more card advantage that way. Plasma's a really good boss monster against Frogs. Guardian Iados and Dark Simorgh allow you to go for OTKs. We're not talking about Dark Simorgh here in terms of like locking people down. We're not talking about it in terms of like preventing them from setting cards. Yes, that effect is nice. It does soft floodgate a lot of decks when they're trying to come back after you do like a half OTK. But for the most part, what these cards are is they're just really easy free summons with huge bodies. So Guardian Iados, Dark Simorgh, for example, that's 5,200. Stratos, that's 7,000. All you need is another 1,000 somewhere, and you're able to OTK the opponent. There's a billion different OTK setups with this deck. I've labbed a whole bunch of them. That's pretty much the goal of this deck, is to set up for a big OTK. Gores and Trag to make sure you don't die. Sideboard, double Cyber Dragon for machines. That matchup is really difficult to deal with. You just need a way to force through Machina Fortress because that card gives you a lot of trouble. I have one DD Warrior Lady, one Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer helps you in a billion different situations. It's like one of the best cards in the format right now. DD Warrior Lady helps you play through Battle Recruiters, and it's tutorable off Rhoda, so it's like you get to side 2 cards for 1, basically. Fossil Dino also helps you with Battle Recruiters, helps you with Frogs, helps you with like other decks that special summon a lot. It just handles a lot of situations that you normally wouldn't be able to deal with this type of deck. One Card Destruction. I'm not sure if this is going to stay in the side, but it's not a bad inclusion in some matchups to bring it in. It's just like an extra draw card. I'm still not super sold on it, but it can help you. It can help you in some matchups. That's why I have it in the side. And then I have Double Vortex, Soul Release. Soul Release is for Lightsworn. It's also for Frogs. It can also help you like banish your own graveyard for return and DDR, which comes up actually quite a bit, or banish your own graveyard to special summon Iados. So that's actually like a hidden utility of Soul Release in this deck. One Scapegoat for OTK decks. Like you said, this Inverse Dragon Turbo If they try to go for like Trunade, you just chain Scapegoat, and it's like another layer of defense you have versus them. And then on top of that, it can combo with Plasma in the matchups where you want to hard summon Plasma. Double Royal Decree and Space Typhoon for back row hate, and then Treacherous Trap Hole, which you want to side in some matchups where like maybe you don't want Return, maybe you want a different trap card, you want Treacherous Trap Hole. I figured like Treacherous Trap Hole is probably the best one. The extra deck is like everything you would expect and an Armory Arm. There's a reason we have an Armory Arm is because if you brain control Dewfrog or a Raikou, you can synchro into Arm, and that can sometimes set up for Arm Colossal. It's possible you might want to cut the Armory Arm for Elemental Hero Gaia, which has actually come up for me. It has come up for me more than the Arm has come up for me, but it's neither here nor there. I'm going to show you guys 2 replays of me playing this list. I think these replays definitely showcase the strengths of this deck. So this is the first replay I have versus Tro Beta. I'm just going to show my hands. We're going to give like a little bit of analysis here. So I win the rock, paper, scissors, and I open up with the nuts, basically, because I open up with Stratos, and then I have Dark Simorgh coming next turn. I have Allure and Hidden Armory to get me DDR. So I basically have a turn 2 kill with this hand. Like this is like an average hand with this deck, but it is a turn 2 kill if the opponent has nothing. So we go E-Call, grab Stratos, Stratos, grab Plasma, Plasma pitch to trade in. You know the vibes. We draw into DDR, we draw into Hidden Armory. So next turn we can double Hidden Armory. I'm going to go ahead and Allure as well. We are going to banish the Plague. That is most likely going to be my... Oh my gosh. My mouse is like disconnecting and shit. Now it's just like going through the fucking thing. Okay, that is really annoying. That is really tilting. Oh man, we skipped hella forward. Anyway, the whole point was I was going to banish this because I was going to DDR it back. And then we were going to synchro into Bryonic. And then we were going to be able to bounce the opponent's set cards and then special summon Dark Simorgh because we'll have Dark and Wind. And then we'll be able to DDR again off the Hidden Armory, bring back Stratos, Stratos search again, and then potentially even OTK the opponent. So basically that's what happens. Turn 2, we pitch the Phoenix Blade, special summon the Plague. We go into Bryonic. Opponent doesn't stop this, even though they can, but they just don't. I don't know why they don't, but they just don't. I feel like they should definitely have booked the Bryonic there, but... Hey, I don't know, because I'm only going for this if I'm winning the game this turn. Anyway, I go for Hidden Armory. I mill a Dark Simorgh. Maybe he just doesn't know what my deck does, and that's totally valid as well. I go ahead and search for the DDR. I banish to bring back the Phoenix Blade. I add the Phoenix Blade to my hand. I DDR, pitch that, special summon Stratos. Stratos search for Malicious. Use Bryonic, pitch the Malicious, bounce the DDR, banish the Malicious, go get the other Malicious, stack for Plague Spreader, and then synchro into Red Dragon Archfiend for exactly 8,000. So this is like your standard one of your standard OTK lines where you have Dark Simorgh, Bryonic, and Red Dragon. This is why you have to play Red Dragon in this deck because it adds up to 8,000, and that's like one of the setups. Also can go Colossal here, but sometimes you won't have 2 Warriors in grave because you'll be forced to use your Phoenix Blade. Like let's say they have another monster in play, I'll be forced to activate my Phoenix Blade again, banish my 2 monsters, add it back, use Bryonic to pitch. And I can actually go beyond 8,000 here because I could banish my 2 monsters, add back the Phoenix Blade, and then DDR back Stratos again, and actually search for another Plasma, and then set up for a main phase 2 Plasma in case they have Gores. So I actually have like this is a really insane turn, basically. Well, it's not a really insane turn. It's like an average turn for this deck, but you guys get the idea. We attack for 8,000, and the opponent says, cool. Now, it looks like my mouse is dying, so I'm going to go grab batteries real quick before I'm back for the next game. Give me a second. All right, lads, I'm back. I'm back. Thanks for your patience. I really don't want to have to edit this. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this hand's nice. We've got Future Fusion. We've got Hidden Armory. I think the unfortunate part about this hand is that we opened up with Malicious. Our Future Fusion is just kind of slow. It's not bad, but it's just kind of slow because it doesn't send anything that gets us immediate value. And that's something I've been considering with Future Fusion in this deck. Is like, is it worth it to play it? Because it's so slow, but just sending Mali on turn 1, it can be good enough. I've considered like not playing it. I've considered actually playing a third Miracle in the place of Future Fusion, but I think it's okay. In this hand, it would have been better to have the third Miracle. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we draw Plasma. We go for Future Fusion. We send the Ocean and we send the Diamond Dude. We go ahead and Hidden Armory. Go find DDR, and we mill our other Plasma. So I'm like, okay, If I had a Miracle Fusion, that'd be good. If I had anything, that'd be good. I'm just gonna probably set Return and Pass because I can't normal summon because I use Hidden Armory. So next turn I'm gonna go for like double 8-star, something like that. Opponent flips Raikou, pops the Future Fusion. Feels bad, man, but that's just gonna happen. And they do reveal that they are on X Sabers, which is annoying to say the least because we didn't sideboard. We didn't see what they were on game 1, so we didn't sideboard for X Sabers properly. And our deck doesn't have the cards that I would have normally brought in. Like I don't normally have Gores in versus X Sabers, and you're gonna see I'm gonna draw Gores this turn. So yeah, I draw Gores. I don't normally have this in versus X Sabers. I normally have a different card. Let's see, how would I side versus X Sabers? Well, I think I was siding in the DD Warrior Lady, the Dynas, some combination of Royal Decrees, and the Space Typhoon probably. But yeah, I was just siding in like stuff to interact and like lock up the board, like shut off the Emmer's Blade. So we would have drawn like a better card here. As it stands, we have Dark Grepher, and we have to go Dark Grepher pitch, and we're basically forced to make this play. I think this is a really awkward turn for us because we don't have access to Phoenix Blade, and we're kind of gambling into their back row. So I don't know what his back row is. If it's another Fiendish Chain, then it's better to go Bryonic first. But if it's bottomless, it's better to go Dark End first. So I just gamble that it's bottomless because it's more likely that it's bottomless. Like, it's more likely that he's not playing multiple Fiendish Chain because his card is dog shit. But I lose a 50-50, and so I lose the game because of it. Which is like, it just happens, you know? Like, sometimes you go for this, Dark End, activate, pop, and then I return, bring out my 2 monsters, and I have a Brain Lapse here where I go for Bryonic, and I bounce his Fiendish Chain, which is obviously fucking terrible. I shouldn't do that at all. It doesn't end up mattering because he has Brain Control, so it's not really a big deal. But yeah, I bounced the Fiendish, bounced the Emmers. I thought I could activate Dark End again, but for some reason I thought Fiendish Chain negated the activation of the effect, but it just negates the effect, so I can't actually activate the Dark End again. So we just attack over everything, but he has Brain Control, so it's like, what's the point? What did it even matter? We couldn't go for game here anyway, so either way, it doesn't matter. He goes Brain Control, and then yeah, that's it. That's game 1. Or game 2. Game 3, we side a little bit better, and we open up okay. We have Dyna plus Guardian. I go ahead and Special Guardian, mill Future Fusion, grab DDR, and then mill trade in and grab Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. It would have been really nice for us to draw either Future Fusion or trade in this hand. It just would have been really, really good for us to draw those 2 cards. Instead, we drew the Plasma and the Malicious, and it's like, it's kind of tough. Our hand's kind of bricked, but we do have this Fossil Dyna, and we have Iados. Maybe that can carry if he doesn't have a ton of back row, a ton of removal. Turns out he does. We draw a Miracle Fusion, and this is one of those games where, like, Miracle Fusion on Gaia could come up. So having that in the extra deck over Army Arm could have been better. He goes Raikou, pop the Iados, mill 3. Because now next turn, if I draw E-Call, like, he's obviously going to attack over the Dyna, right? Like, that's why he didn't pop it. If I draw E-Call, I can Miracle into Gaia. I draw Trade In. So I go Trade In, I pitch 2, and then yeah, I actually am in a situation where Gaia could have come up here. So it's a little bit frustrating. I had a couple of different plays here. I had like Hidden Armory, hope to get lucky basically, and then what was I thinking? If I mill a hero, or not a hero. No, I guess that doesn't work. Never mind, don't listen to me. Yeah, Hidden Armory, hope to get lucky doesn't work here. I have normal summon Ocean, attack Full Helm Knight, force the negate, and then main phase 2 go for Miracle, and then hopefully that forces his back row, and then I have a face up Absolute Zero. And in hindsight, this was the better play, but it was the worst play into... I'm not really sure what it was a worst play into. I should have done things this way, because forcing his back row before the Absolute Zero hits play is good in case he has specifically Book of Moon, because if he books my Absolute Zero and then makes Bryonic on the next turn, I lose. So I actually lose this game pretty much on a misplay, but basically what I should have done was summon Ocean, attack the Full Helm Knight, and then it would have set up my position a little bit better, because he would have been forced to book the Ocean or like negate or something like that, and then main phase 2 we could have figured this out. Obviously, like, either way it's the same if he chooses to negate, but there's a good chance if I summon Ocean and just attack his Full Helm, he books it. There's like a really good chance that happens. So like I was thinking, okay, maybe we do that to try and force the back row. He goes Book of Moon on the absolute 0 here, and now we're just in a bad spot. We don't have enough warriors to bring back the Phoenix Blade, and we just kind of lose to Bryonic, unfortunately. He attacks over the ocean and then bounces the absolute 0. We have some ways to get back in this game. We draw Miracle, and as you can see here, if I had Gaia, I would have come back into the game. So I'm considering adding Gaia over the Armory Arm. But I think realistically, like, Gaia is going to come up a little bit less. But if we had Gaia here, like, for sure, we would have been in this game, at the very least. Because we go summon Gaia, have Bryonic, he chains Bottomless, we go Hidden Armory, find DDR pitch Malicious, special summon out Ocean. Ocean can attack over the Bryonic, or we could even bring back the Gaia, I believe, unless he can only be fusion summoned. I don't know how that card works off the top of my head. But yeah, we would have been able to do stuff this turn and play through this situation. As it stands, we just have to go for DDR and we can't do anything because I'm stuck with the Miracle Fusion and I lost this game in deck building. And I also made what I consider to be a misplay last turn. Obviously, if he had like the fucking Millennium Eye, he would have negated my attack anyway, regardless. But yeah, we draw Greffer here. We go pitch, send Plague, and there's a couple of options here. I figured that the best option would be go for Dark End first, but I think in hindsight I should have gone for Stardust Dragon, but I'm not really sure. It's kind of hard. He has obviously Bottomless, which is the perfect out to Dark End here, which sucks. Then we Miracle into Absolute 0, but he's got Brain Control once more, so that's unfortunate, but that's just the way things go sometimes, I believe. This is a game that goes down to Brain Control. Yeah, he does have the Brain Control. We stacked the DDR because we knew we could get back Phoenix Blade by setting up the 2 warriors in our grave in case they got outed by Black Rose, which is what I was assuming would happen. Then we can DDR back the Dark End and attack him. And let's say, like, he's just on, like, fucking single guy. Like, we just win. He top decks single guy for his emergency call and then also has Brain Control for game. So it's, like, kind of unlucky circumstances, kind of unlucky sequencing from the opponent. Kind of a misplay on my part, and then also an error in deck building on my part. And all of that kind of added up to a loss here in this match. But I think the main point stands is that our deck has a lot of potential. And like game 1, it showcased a lot of the potential, especially like the surprise factor. Like if nobody sees this deck coming, they're just going to get OTK'd. That being said, tiny misplays are going to cost you a lot with this deck. And so let's see if I can tighten up my play for the next replay I've got for you guys. All right, so this one, I lose the rock, paper, scissors. So I am going second, which sucks, but it's okay. You know, sometimes it happens. This hand is pretty good. We have Stratos and Destiny Draw, so that's about as good as it gets. We have 5 copies of Stratos, which means we're about, I believe, 80% to open one. And then if you factor in the draw spells, it's a little bit over that. But basically, roughly 80% to open Stratos, which is exactly what you want to do in this deck, is just open Stratos. I'm not even going to Heavy Storm yet because we might need it for the OTK turn. Opponent went for Upstart Goblin. We're going to go ahead and Stratos search Malicious. We Destiny Draw pitch Malicious, draw 2 cards, activate E-Call main phase 2 because if it's a Raikou, he might pop my Stratos. And then we may or may not want to use the E-Call. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we attack its UFO Turtle and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I lose. Because if he gets Lone Fire here and then he just has the Gigavice combo, we just die. But he doesn't get Lone Fire, he gets Flamvell Magician, which is like the least threatening UFO turtle. I've never attacked into a UFO turtle and it's gotten something worse than a UFO turtle before, but that's exactly what happened. We E-Call, grab Ocean, set return after Heavy Storming and pass the turn. He has Flamvell Fire Dog, which is the punish, but it's really not that big of a deal unless he has Assault Mode to activate. And I know he's on Assault Mode because he's playing this garbage. And you don't play this garbage unless you're playing Assault Mode. Like, you don't play Upstart and Flamvells unless you're playing Assault Mode. Although you could. And it wouldn't be the weirdest thing. It just doesn't make sense to do it without the Assault Mode stuff. He goes ahead and makes Colossal Stardust, and then he does have the Assault Mode. And that's really tricky. We do have an opportunity here to win if we draw Plague, but we didn't draw Plague. If we drew Plague or like Greffer, a way to get to Plague, we could maybe bait the Assault Mode negate and then make Colossal Fighter. And then Colossal Fighter is actually bigger than Assault Mode because we would have 2 warriors in the grave. Well, not bigger than, but enough to crash. And that's basically what we need. Instead, I set this, and he has Rekindling, and I'm just like, oh, shit. I guess we just got owned that game. So for the next game, the way I sided, because this deck is really interesting, I sided in Kaiku, I sided in Warrior Lady. Even though Kaiku gets eaten by Fire Dog, like, so does the rest of our deck. And Kaikyu is a way we can actually like answer or resolve Stardust Assault Mode. So basically what happens is like we'll activate a card that forces the Assault Mode to negate, and then we'll summon Kaikyu and we'll attack and we'll banish the Stardust and the Stardust Assault Mode. And then it's like we got our 1-for-1 trade with Stardust Assault Mode. Same thing with Fossil Dyna, but we don't want to bring it in going first because it's a brick going first. I do need to bring in the Kaikyu just because we need to have some outs to it. Soul Release as well. And then I do also side in the double Royal Decrees because it's fucking hilarious if the opponent goes activate Stardust Assault Mode and we chain Royal Decree and they don't get anything and they sacrifice their Stardust. So that's pretty funny. All right, game 1 or game 2. I am going first, so that's why I brought in the Decrees, didn't bring in the Dynas. We open up with Stratos again, and we open up with Destiny Draw. We do have this Roto, which is a little awkward, but that's going to find us Greffer. I'm going to go for that first because, obviously, I go for Destiny Draw next because I don't necessarily want to summon Stratos if I can avoid it this turn. I kind of want to set up for an OTK turn. So I'm going to draw into 2 cards. I'm going to find double Royal Decree, and I'm like, okay, now I feel comfortable summoning Stratos because even if he has Fire Dog, he can't Assault Mode me because I have the Decrees. So like next turn, we'll be able to come back thanks to Greffer plus Plasma, find Plague, and then Mali Plague, and then the Decree will defend us from anything besides Book of Moon. So I set double Decree and pass. I figured he might not have Heavy Storm in post board versus us. He goes Upstart Goblin, we gain 1,000. He sets 2 back row and passes. End phase we Decree. And as you can see, he had Bottomless plus Bottomless. 2 Bottomless. Wow. That's a lot of Bottomless. And he has UFO Turtle. So we draw the Phoenix Blade. We summon Dark Greffer. Activate, pitch, send Plague, stack for Plague. Shuffle away our Ocean because I don't want that card in my hand. I don't want to draw that card. Make Dark End, pop his card. And we could DDR for Plague for a bit more damage, but it's not quite game. It's like a little bit off. If we DDR for Plague and Synchro into Yugioh and then bring back the Phoenix Blade, I think we're like 1,100 off. If I'm doing the math correctly. What is this? 35, 56. And then Plague adds 11 and this adds 14. So it's like 7,000. We're 1,000 off. If we DDR back Plague, make Yugioh and equip Divine Sword. But it's neither here nor there because Royal Decree is putting in a lot of work. It's shutting off 3 of his cards. And then he also has this Dead Assault Mode, which is the bane of that deck's existence. It just doesn't do anything when you draw Assault Mode. And Pot of Avarice is laughably bad when you're playing a bunch of like bad trap cards like Bottomless Trap Hole, which you shouldn't be playing in a deck like that, honestly. If it was up to me, I would not choose to include Bottomless Trap Hole in that deck. I think that's a poor inclusion. This game we go second, which is kind of tough, but the opponent has a bit of a slower start, which is good for us. They don't summon a monster. And so now we have to really consider our matchup because a tiny misplay here could mean the difference between winning and losing this game. Yes, we do have turn 1 Stratos. And a lot of players would just be like, oh, I have turn 1 Stratos. I'm going to go for turn 1 Stratos. But if you think about it, like if I go for turn 1 Stratos and then he goes Flamvell Guy, run over my Stratos, or if he goes Special Cyber Dragon, normal 3-star, whatever, because I summoned a monster, then all of a sudden I'm losing to the Assault Mode guy. I don't have an out to the Assault Mode guy. So like, I basically, what I have to do is set return and set up for a turn 3 or turn 4 OTK and hope that he doesn't have a way to put Stardust Assault Mode into play without me having a Stratos in play. So I'm going to e-call for Stratos now because I don't want to draw it. First things first, I want to thin my deck, right? And then I do want to set the return, but then I just want to pass. I don't want to commit the Stratos. I want him to understand that I have Stratos. I want him to feel comfortable summoning something like Fire Dog so I can brain control it, but I don't want to play into that Fire Dog basically. And this play here wins us the game. That's what it takes. Is sometimes you need to think about the position more than you need to think about what your deck should be doing in a vacuum. And that's something a lot of new players will mess up. Actually, almost every single new player would mess that up, like legit. So here we have just like an insane turn. We can brain control the Fire Dog, take it, synchro with Plague into Bryonic. His back row is Torrential. He could have Torrentialed on the Plague summon. We're going to priority Bryonic, pitch to Stratos, bounce his back row. He just lets that happen, which is insane. We go ahead and allure, banish the Diamond Dude, and then we have banish, special Simorgh. And as you can see, even if we wanted to special the Iados here, we don't, but even if we wanted to, we could, because it's really easy to empty our graveyard thanks to Dark Simorgh and Phoenix Blade and just all the different ways we have to banish cards from our graveyard, basically. Soul Release post board as well. We have the Return from the Different Dimension. We get the Stratos Search again. We can synchro with Stratos into Yugioh Guardian, and then we can stack the trade-in with Plague. Even though he has Crow for Plague, we can use Diamond Dude to mill the trade-in, And this is insane even into Gores. Because we go Diamond Dude attack directly. If he has Gores, then I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, then he drops the Gores and we steal it with Goyo Guardian. And then even if he has Gores into a comeback play, let's say he has Gores into, Fire Dog, into Stardust, into Assault mode, right? He can't even set the Assault mode because Dark Simorgh is in play. He can't Book of Moon my Dark Simorgh because that's the way Dark Simorgh works. You can't activate Book of Moon on your opponent's cards or on any cards when a Dark Simorgh is on your opponent's side of the field. It's just like impossible for him to come back from this situation. So that's kind of the strength of this. And even worst case scenario, like let's say he does have Gores, I can go like Goyo, take the Gores, and I could even go Plasma, main phase 2, sacrifice the monsters that are weak to Fire Dog, and then steal his Gores token. So like there's a bunch of different stuff I could do here. But yeah, no, the deck is very, very deadly, and it's really, really good at delivering kills into little or light defense. I think it's pretty difficult to deliver kills into heavy defense consistently, but if your opponent has one back row, it's usually very easy to OTK through it. Like it's usually just over. If your opponent has one back row and they like make a mistake, or if they have two back row even, sometimes it's pretty easy to play through it. Usually when you're getting into the like 3 pieces of interaction, it gets kind of tough, but you can definitely play grind games with this deck because it does have access to the extra deck very easily. It does have Dark Simorgh very easily, which is kind of a floodgate. It has Plasma, which is kind of a floodgate. There's a lot of different floodgates. I think this list is closer to what we should be playing for Diamond Dude Turbo, just because I think it's a lot smoother than what we had been playing in the past. I know it's really weird to see a deck like this without Dark Arm Dragon, but I actually think it's correct because over the course of a natural game, you rarely have 3 Darks in your grave. Like, absolutely rarely. If you watch those 2 matches, it was very common for us to not have even 1 or 0 Darks in our grave just because of the way the deck works. Like, between Dark Simorgh and Phoenix Blade and, just banishing your own cards and stuff, like, you're just not going to have 3 Darks in your grave a lot of the time. So, let me know what you guys think about this deck. This is one of those decks that I'm going to add to the wheel for the 8-mans. This is one of those decks that I think has potential to be a like high tier, like competitive deck just because of the nature of it. It's like a weirdly strong deck. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And of course, smash like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys at RBET Moreno Value coming up in the next 10 days or so. Peace.